Hello, everybody. My name is David Carney. I am the Executive Director of the Career Industry Council of Australia. Welcome to our first of our free February series as part of the International Webinar Series. Before we get underway today, I'd just like to make an acknowledgement of country. So the Career Industry Council of Australia would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connection to land, sea and community. I'd like to acknowledge that I'm hosting this webinar on the lands of the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and I'd like to pay my respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander peoples who are joining us in the session today. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we get underway. Just to let you know, this session is being recorded. If you do experience any technical issues over the course of the session, just in the first instance, try refreshing your screen. If that doesn't work, you can use the login details that you have been provided. We will have the chat function and the Q&A function open today, so feel free to contribute your comments in the chat. As always, Deirdre, our presenter today, won't be keeping her eye on the chat. She'll be obviously working on her presentation. If you do have any questions for Deirdre, we'd ask you to put those into the Q&A button just for ease of facilitation at the end. Just a reminder that the use of AI note takers and audio and visual equipment during this session is not permitted. As I said, this is the first of the four webinars as part of our February series to start 2026. If you haven't registered and you're interested in any of the three remaining webinars, you can visit the Seeker website and follow the link to join. The first of the international webinar series outside of February will be on the 11th of March. So if you're interested in the Australian Government Jobs and Skills Australia annual Australia's current and future labour market needs update with Christy Leslie from JSA. Again, go to the Seeker website and you can register to attend that event. So it's enough of the housekeeping. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to welcome Deirdre Hughes back to the International Webinar Series. Deirdre has presented for us before, and it is great to have her back. For those of you that have not met Deirdre before, Deirdre Hughes, OBE, is an international expert in careers, employment and skills policy. She's the founding director of Career Chat UK, an innovative AI chatbot company supporting career exploration for young people and adults. Deirdre also serves as the Vice President of the International Association of Vocational Education and Guidance, the IEAVG. She has co-edited 3 Routledge books in 2024 and was co-editor of the British Journal of Career Guidance and Counselling International Symposium Series from 2015 to 2021. In 2012, she received an OBE from the late Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II for her services to European lifelong guidance. Deirdre, it's a great deal of pleasure to welcome you back to our series. As I said to you before we started, we have had enormous response for tonight's webinar. So thank you very much for presenting, and I'm going to hand over to you.
Well, thank you very much, David. And I would just like to begin also by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the country throughout Australia and those connected to the land, the sea, and of course, the community. And part of what we're doing today is very much a community activity, sharing our learning across the land, the sea, the airwaves, and elsewhere. So I'm just going to begin really by thanking also Seeker for what a fantastic opportunity to have free CPD. And I'm very grateful to have this platform to be able to just share some insights of how I, as a careers practitioner, as a policy advisor, as a researcher, like everyone on this webinar, we're each chipping away, making sure that we maintain the profile of really good career development. So we're going to spend probably about 55 minutes or so together. I promise that we will finish on time. And yeah, let's get my presentation just fired up if we could. So I just want to go back. I'm just going to stop my share for just a second. And I said to David, just as we were starting, well, let's hope that the technology gods behave today. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that that is indeed the case. Okay, so let's get going. So what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to sort of read out every learning objective from today. But what I am going to do is begin by start by saying that I call this humans and wizards using AI to good effect. And if you've come along for this session to learn all about the theory around AI, that's probably a different session for you, although there's a lot of theoretical evidence that I can share outside of this session. But what we're going to look at together is really how can we harness AI with humanity? We're going to explore some practical ways in which AI can enhance careers, employability, and enterprise information advice and guidance for young people and adults, whilst maintaining those ethics and the human connection. We'll have a look at a few tools. If you've got time, we'll look at definitely at least two. And I'm hoping to give you a few takeaways, practical things that you can do. I'm very aware that our audience are a real mixture of practitioners, policymakers, researchers, academics, a whole range of different people. So maybe in the chat, you could just say a quick hello, tell us where you are in the world. I know we've got well over 800 people who've registered for this event. So, David, forgive me if the chat goes crazy now, but I think it'd be nice for people just to say a little bit around where are you in the world. So it's 8 o'clock in the morning here in the UK, and you can see here my nice little infographic or picture around. I've got a good cup of coffee sitting by me, and I'm hoping that maybe for you, you may have had a really long day. Maybe it's early evening, maybe it's sort of in the middle of the day. It might even be in the middle of the night for some. So really, just I want to convey a sense of this webinar is informal. If you need a drink, if you need a stretch, if you sort of just need to look after your well-being, as well as, of course, hopefully listening to some of the things that I share with you. There's absolutely no such thing in this webinar as a silly question. And we're going to find out in a few minutes about how you're feeling today, where you're starting from. But as your sort of guest contributor, I want all of you to feel that regardless of where you are, I hope that I can leave you with at least one or two takeaways that will help you in your everyday work. I'm going to have a quick glance. I can see lots of people from Australia, someone from Ho Chi Minh City. My daughter was there just earlier this week. All parts of Australia and indeed further afield, Norway, etc. A very, very warm welcome. So, what I'd like to do now is to actually just start with us getting to know each other. AI and careers is, on the one hand, a sort of mysterious thing. And it's a little bit like Harry Potter and the wizards. And again, for those of you who don't know about Harry Potter is all about wizards. And I want to give you this analogy to think about when it comes to AI and careers. So, for those of you who know about Harry Potter, there's the sorting hat approach. And AI is a little bit like a sorting hat or a puzzle. You ask it a question and it sort of seems to know the things about you and it gives you an answer. But if you actually ask, if you like, the sorting hat to explain step by step why they decided I, for example, was a Gryffindor, it could tell you, all about Gryffindor, but it couldn't tell you step by step as to how it got there. And this is what AI is a puzzle to many of us, even those of us who have been in it for quite some time. So let's hear about you and we'll launch our first poll. David, shall I stop sharing my screen? No, I don't need to. Wonderful. So we want to begin really by asking you, where are you starting from today? which statement best describes where you're at right now with AI in your professional work? So just choose one of these options and then we'll have a little look to see our audience. Are you all in the same place describing where you are right now or at different levels? So, David, maybe you can give me a little signal once you can see the results coming in, and we'll share it accordingly.
Sure. So we've got about 80% so far, so we'll just give them a couple more minutes.
Fantastic. And as we go, throughout this session, it's helpful maybe to know that when people say to me, well, what's your job? What do you do? And what I often say to people is, well, I am first and foremost a career development professional. I'm a teacher, I'm a researcher. And I do believe that part of that teacher, researcher, policy advisor role is making sure that we always begin by understanding our audience. And that applies to you regardless of your circumstance, is the people that you're working with AI and talking to, where are they starting from? So very interesting here. I've tried some AI tools, but I'm not sure how to use them effectively. That is such a common factor. And sometimes there are so many tools that I could tick a box, even though I am a tech innovator. And I'll say a little bit about that in a minute. Got lots of curiosity. Good that we've actually got some skeptics, and good that we've got some people that are concerned about the ethical and the professional risks. Um, and great to see people want to deepen their understanding. Let's just do another little quick poll now, just to again get us into this topic. What's the sort of, if you like, which of these is the closest to what you're hoping to get out of today's session? I put this, what's the biggest question walking in today? We're walking into our offices or our homes where we're sitting hopefully on a nice comfortable seat. But I want to hear what your question, maybe biggest one is, and I will endeavour, where possible, to try and cover that in this session. How are we doing, David? We got some responses coming in.
They're moving quickly, Deirdre. Probably gives them.
Good. It's fine. It's really important to give people time to respond. Now, Annie Morris is saying, can you please read them out as I can't see them? Um, I can only see a grey box, says Annie. So,
I
Annie,
think
I'm not David,
I was going to say I'm. They might be on something on your slides because I can see a grey box as well, Deirdre, and a couple of grey boxes. I'm not sure.
on my slides.
Yeah, coming up on the screen. They're covering
Mm,
up some of the slides.
okay. Shall I just stop for a second and stop sharing? Would that make a difference, David?
I can see you at the moment. Yeah, so we'll relaunch your slides in a minute and see what happens. I'll end this for you though, Deirdre, and share the results.
Lovely. So here we've got what's the biggest question walking in today? 23% want to know, how do I evaluate whether an AI tool is actually good enough to use? Excellent, we're going to cover that. How do I balance AI with a human relationship in my work? Again, we'll cover that. What does AI mean for the future of my profession? Well, I hope that towards the end we certainly have a chance to reflect on that. And as you're sort of listening to some of these examples, you'll form your own ideas as well. How do you build confidence to use AI responsibly? Yes, we'll look at confidence factor. How do I make the case for or against AI in my organization? A lot of teachers that I'm working with at the moment here in the UK are actually saying, look, our AI policy in schools and colleges. People have suddenly, decided now that they need to have these policies. And I have to make the case for or against this when it comes to career development. So we'll share some ideas on that. And great to see that we've got people who are curious. They just want to find out what's going on. Thanks, David. That's great. Annie, maybe after this session, or if we've got time at the end, stay back, and if you want, I can read out the other results, but hopefully you'll get the results in the recording anyway. Okay, so I'm going to go back and just share my slides. Are we good, David? Can you see my slides okay?
No, we're still getting a whole lot of grey boxes that are just appearing across the screen.
That's a bit worrying because I can see my own slides here quite clearly. Okay. Now, what did I say about the technology gods, David? What did I say? So,
Can I just, do you have something running behind, Deirdre, your presentation? Or is your mouse over the screen?
No.
Okay.
We'll try one more time. Can you see now, David?
That's working now.
Phew, lovely. Thank you. This is the other thing about when we're talking about AI and careers and technology, there's always a sense of will it work? And usually it does in the rehearsal, and then in the real thing, little things happen. Okay, so we're from all around the globe here. And so it's really important for all of us that we've got some common language, because when I'm talking about career development, are you talking about the same? And how do we convey in a time where there's so much change going on in terms of policies, governments, technology, a whole climate change, a whole range of factors? How do we quickly convey in just a few minutes what career development is? So I'm going to share with you a very brief video. It's just a few minutes long. And I hope that you'll have a chance to sort of maybe in the chat tell us which bit of career development actually are you particularly interested in beyond the AI. So here we go. Let's just click the video. I am just going to fast forward it to here.
And now I've got a summary to put into the mixture. Okay. Career guidance or career development. It's a superpower that's more than relevant. It brings hope and purpose, and more than this, it's a force for good, including social justice. Inequality is not the same as inequity. Here's to making a difference to marginalized societies. See, Black Lives Matter, as do other things that help promote mental health and our well-being. And so day one, where to begin? In childhood with career-related learning. They first see jobs in a fantasy stage, when choices become more realistic with age. There's a world of differences in cultural situations, with child labour issues within different nations. So let's nurture kids and broaden their horizons to help grow the future that we've all got our eyes on. We have to start early, making learning fun. In the primary school is where it starts for some. Build each child as a superhero as well. And to help that, they need to have role models, because they can't be what they cannot see. And we need to be building, not crushing dreams, because everything in life isn't always what it seems. And that was just a freestyle to catch up with the beat. So next up in the talks delivering was all about careers in the curriculum. That's real world learning into education, with project-based learning and innovation, helping teachers relearn all across the lands to educate the head and the heart and the hand, providing skills for life with the drive and inspired by curriculum, objectives and careers rewired. And when learning's relevant, it's not surprising they get entrepreneurial and enterprising. So what lessons can we learn from lockdown? What innovations in careers have we got now? Continuing programs and getting on just fine, but getting virtual and moving things online, keeping students engaged while at home's the plan. Or how about socially distant summer camps? Move forward, reimagine, not just back to the norm, with more support for the deprived, their lives transformed. Now they too, AI AI and the future of work. Computers are everywhere, yes, getting berserk. For the most part, we need human intervention, but the future will bring more artificial intelligence with chatbots everywhere and mobile phones and laptops and social media. Let's get in the zone. Mass redundancy and rising unemployment. It's time to help all get fit for the job. We need fairness and access for all abilities and hard to reach groups. That's the future we want. Now apprenticeships, shaping and engaging the younger generation, but integrating inclusions for all groups and all locations, for education and training in vocations. There's nationalizing programs to boost the progress and opportunities to improve career prospects. Knowledge, skills and behaviors will see a boost to the individuals and economy. So what about leaderhood and equality so we can celebrate success collectively? We got to remove the barriers and redesign and reinvent the mind state, not get left behind. Do the right thing, because we create what we see. We want gender equality and diversity, maybe through activism, standing up to challenges. Remember, leaders don't have to be managers. We hear of privilege and unconscious bias, but sometimes we need a little help to remind us that everybody needs a little help here and there. So thank you to everybody working in careers.
So that I really wanted to share with you because this is John, and John is a real person, not a robot, not something that, his script was made up using AI. And I worry about John because John has a young family. He lives here in the UK, hugely talented individual. But I could use a piece of AI now and show you where I could make a video in about 2 or 3 minutes where it could actually make up some of the rhyme that we've got here. And we're going to pick up as we go along around the importance of how AI and humans need to work together, not the sense of AI will replace all humans. And I just wanted to sort of start off with that. And again, you'll get the link to all of these slides afterwards. So let's just move on to our next slide, if I may. David, I feel I've kind of what's the word? Sabotaged myself by saying, let's hope the technology gods. I've obviously awoken them, but just give me one little second.
That's okay.
We'll go to my next slide. Maybe again, just as we're doing that, let's just see if anyone, as we go along, anyone has got any questions that they want to ask. We're good to go now. I can see my next slide. Okay, so what we've been looking at is oh, we're definitely having fun here. Apologies. Just bear with me. Okay. Seem to want to remember to stay with John for some reason. Okay. Okay, we're back on track again. So let's just have a little look here at wherever we are in the world, and I'm not going to dwell on this. There's a lot of discussion about Society 5.0, and these are 7, if you like, key factors that you'll see in there: AI and data analytics, you'll see digital transformation, but you'll see other factors like experiential learning, interdisciplinary approach, ethics and social implications. And for all of us, we're looking at this through different lenses. And I think regardless of whatever your role is now, I like to use this analogy here of, there are barriers that as career development professionals that get in the way of us being able to use tools and techniques and resources and deliver our services to good effect. So maybe this image might speak to you around, are you somebody that's having to sort of scale the wall and to get to the other side to make progress? Or maybe you're having to go underground in your institution. Maybe you're using AI, but actually your institution as yet hasn't actually woken up to that. Or maybe you are the champion sort of trying to drive it forward. Regardless, we're in this changing world of information and advice. And here really is a slide where I thought one of the things that would be good to help today's practical session is, as I go along, I'm going to recommend some people to follow if you want to find out more about AI and some of the issues. So my first shout out is to Alex Arifed from the ATLP here in the UK. You can find him on LinkedIn. And Alex is very much from a careers information advice and guidance perspective. He's a teacher and he's really looking at how can we develop critical consciousness in our students when it comes to AI. And here Mustafa Suleiman just in November said, we're all grappling for the right words to describe the arrival of this sort of very, very different technology to anything that we've ever seen before. It can persuasively communicate, it can reason through problems, breaking them down into subtasks. I'm going to ask you to put in the chat, which tools do you use, if any, when it comes to AI? AI can call upon and we can use tools to take actions in the world. We can increasingly draw upon memory. If I use something like Claude Pro, it will remember what I was talking about, and it'll actually want to tell me more. It can match, and some would say that it can actually surpass human cognition in an increasing number of domains and tasks. And it can simulate sentience, emotional intelligence, and some would say consciousness. So first of all, if you're new to this, follow Alex and you will see that Alex actually has a batch of free resources that you can use with your students in school. But let's get into the whole business of why do we need to raise critical consciousness of AI? Like, in a way, it's pretty obvious that we can't just sleepwalk into using tools and then discover that they do some harm. But the one thing that most people will say to me when we look at AI is, will it actually mean that we are putting people out of jobs? So in your country, wherever you are, there will be headlines in that regard. So let's just very quickly, and David in the chat, if you would just keep an eye on this for me, I'd be very grateful. Let's just take a little look now at which jobs do we think maybe are at risk from AI? And we'll just do a very quick exercise. We've got 3 here, maybe 4. First of all, in the chat, just indicate whether you think call center agents, those call centers, for example, there's major call centers in Belfast in Northern Ireland, where I'm originally from. Do you think AI actually will put jobs at risks in calls as a call center agent? Again, David, maybe you would just shout out and tell me, are we getting an unequivocal yes, no, or maybe?
Absolutely, yes. Nobody's saying no.
Okay. So let's look at the next one. What about solicitor or lawyer? Do we think AI will replace those professionals? Is it the
Deirdre,
same?
it's about 50-50, Deirdre. About half are saying yes, half are saying no. Some are saying some aspects of work might be for a solicitor, possibly some of their work, maybe at the lower level.
So interesting. So we do know that AI can do some of the heavy lifting around some of the basic tasks. But will we get to a point where actually, we wouldn't need a lawyer or a solicitor in a court standing up to defend someone? It would just be a machine as well. I don't think so, but I do think that we're absolutely right around some of these tasks that will change. The nature of work will change. What about a personal trainer? You think that AI, the technology, will replace these personal trainers? Strength of feeling again?
Probably
Maybe.
six, yeah, maybe I'd say probably 60% are saying yes, 40% are saying no. Again, some people are saying parts of the job.
So a few years ago, who would have had one of those bicycles? And, when we went into COVID, all of that really changed, didn't it? How we were keeping fit or exercising. Now, the million-dollar question is career development professional. Will AI replace a career development professional? Let's see what we have in the chat.
There's a lot of hope nots, Deirdre.
Yeah, good, good. Well, I'm hoping that what I can do today is convince you that actually, if ever we needed to have more career development professionals, this is the time. And I argue in my work that career development is essential infrastructure. It's like roads and bridges. We need to have that essential infrastructure. And here I'll give you just a few examples of, some people argue actually that the rise of AI roles means that for hiring managers and for candidates as well, that actually we're going to have to be as human beings more savvy around how we apply for jobs, how we present, how we prepare, etc. Many of these big companies are actually working with government now. Here in the UK, Multiverse commits to 15,000 AI apprenticeships in the next 2 years. And in fact, only last week, Anthropic and our government here in the UK have committed to actually using AI to help support people in work to actually make smoother transitions. So, kind of beginning to come in on this career development space. Again, more information around will AI displace young people from the market, and particularly those are deemed most vulnerable. Here in Wales, for example, North Wales, there's an argument that AI growth zones will create thousands of jobs and unlock huge amounts of investment. And one of the interesting things that's happening here in Britain and perhaps where you are too, is that the fearing of AI job losses, that some workers in Britain are shifting more towards skilled trades. And so that really is my first argument, which is everything's moving and nobody really knows for sure where the jobs are going to be massive losses where there's no replacement for them. So it's important to keep an eye on both sides of the argument. I've got another little video that I will endeavour to share. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. I'm going to show you a little video, really, where there is an argument that actually AI may well create even more job opportunities. And actually, maybe what I'll do is what I will do outside of this session, just I think maybe in the interest of time, is you can always send me a little note or I'll put it in the chat and you can have a little look at this yourself in your own time. But there is an argument that actually, if you think about radiology and you think about the radiographers that are needed in hospitals, etc., that actually the AI technology, because it is actually being used now to do some of that heavy lifting around early diagnosis, that you need more people in that profession now to do that very skillful work. And that's where I believe we're at in terms of the career development profession. So what am I doing here really talking to you? How am I qualified to tell you about AI. I'm a bit of an unusual person because I am looking at how I can leverage technology for social good based on years of training careers advisors and teachers and leaders on aspects to do with career development. And I am on a mission really to show that not only as a careers profession, we can talk about the theory, but actually we can be at the forefront of cutting edge developments. So this is our sort of part two of the session. We've covered the sort of trends, and I'm hopeful that you're reflecting now about how do you feel about job losses, job gains. And depending on where you are, this will vary significantly. But that's the one thing that I think we need to keep our eye on as career development professionals who claim not just to be counsellors and skillful practitioners, but by virtue of career development professionals, we have to know something about the labour market in order to guide people effectively. And what we've got is we've got career development as a golden thread. Now that golden thread is actually being enhanced by using AI to do some of the heavy lifting that in the past we've had to do, and to actually ensure that we are seen as a profession to be at the very, very forefront. But we got to get the balance right, the AI versus the humans. So let's just take a little quick look. Think about when you first ever had an Amazon delivery. My next door neighbour has Amazon deliveries almost every day, and I take parcels in for her. But it was back in 2000, 25 years ago, that Amazon deliveries first started. So look at this kind of little journey that we have been on over the last quarter, of a century. And also then bear in mind that when we sort of take a look at that, think about the time until most of today's 9-year-olds start a full career. And also think about the time they enter, early mid-career. All these changes of technology are evident. We can see it in all sorts of fields. But guess what? It's actually hard to be directionally right about where AI will land. So let me give you a few examples. John Maynard, the British economist, said by 2030, man's real problem will be how to occupy the leisure which science and compound interest will have won for him. Are you finding that you've got too much leisure time and there's no opportunities for you? I don't think so. By 1982, the graduated income tax will have been abolished. It will have abolished all these major differences in wealth. If ever there was a time now where we had these major disparities in wealth, it's now. I could go on. I could talk about the sawmills and the stamps. Sir William Priest from the British Post Office said the Americans have the need of the telephone, but we do not. We have plenty of messenger boys. So we can kind of keep looking at a few other examples here. The invention of aircraft will make war impossible in the future, sadly. That's not the case. And there's no reason why anyone would want a computer in their home, said poor old Ken Olsen back in 1977. So actually, having a concrete, definitive answer of is AI good, is AI bad? The simple answer is we don't really know. But what we have to do is find ways to have guardrails around the tools that we use and have a heightened sense of awareness of what it can actually do. Just recently, I was in Egypt looking at the Be Ready initiative. And whilst it wasn't just looking at AI in higher education, it was very interesting that there in Egypt, they were looking at a model where they can not just sort of think about, if you like, the traditional career management skills, but looking at me in a digital age and also thinking about entrepreneurship. And when you read some of the works around AI and you think about today's society, I invite you to think, if you're a curriculum designer, to sort of think about Where does entrepreneurship feature in there? When we're guiding people and we're using AI, what's so interesting for me when I work with schools across the UK is young people are saying, Miss, I have a side hustle and I would actually like to do that as a full-time career. So I'm going to invite you to sort of think some of those things. And I want to point to Singapore. And my first other sort of keynote point to you is Singapore gives us a fantastic example of thinking about how large language models that we use here in the UK and in America are very different, perhaps, to there's an initiative in Singapore called Sea Lion, the Southeast Asian Languages in One Network. And it's an LLM that's developed by AI in Singapore that's specifically relevant to context and languages. So think about that whenever you're using AI. Think about, are we sort of drawing very heavily on a very Western influence? And perhaps where you are a bit different. Okay, we want to get into some of these tools now. And this was a slide actually I developed a few years back, really looking at, well, what tools are out there. Now, David, in the chat, let's see if we can get people telling us what tools, if any, are you using? And if you're not using any AI tools at the moment, please do not worry, because today's session is CPD, and there's no such thing as a hierarchy of those who are using it are very, very sophisticated and those who aren't are not. My message from today is that we each have to play with the AI and use different tools in order to better understand where they can help us, their strengths, and indeed their weaknesses. So, first of all, give us an idea in the chat. You can see here that there's all sorts of tools that you can use. In my context, I have been looking at innovation in chatbot technology. I've been on a journey for the last 3 years to see, can we have a chatbot for careers that stays at the forefront of humans being that essential ingredient that work together with AI. And if we've got time, I'm going to show you a few examples. David, what have we got in the chat? Have we got any sort of examples of AI tools that people are using?
I think a lot are talking about using Copilot, and I think that's probably indicative of, institutions having Microsoft products and Copilot being part of those packages. The other ones which are quite common, I think if we were trying to pull out the ones that are quite common, ChatGTP, some are using Claude, Google's Gemini gets a mention, and then there are a range of sort of quite bespoke type AI products.
Fantastic. So I want to give you a practical example of, I'm a researcher and I actually produce reports. One example I'm going to show you where sometimes my reports for my customers, particularly if you're looking at an all-age career system in a region, well, a lot of work has gone into them. But often people will say, have you got an infographic? Can you put it all on one page after you've done a year of research in a particular area? And actually, I've been looking at AI to see how can we, when we have a very, very dense report, how can we actually bring it alive? So let's just take a little look. Sorry, I keep hitting I'm going backwards instead of forwards. So if you've come to this webinar and you're somebody that really cares about places and spaces for careers support, and you know that AI has got to feature somewhere in there because of the technology that and the pace of change that I've mentioned, you might, as a takeaway, you might find this report helpful. You can get this from the link shared here. But let me stop sharing my slides for a second. And let me see if I can now share with you a tool that I use to try to help bring, if you like, some of my work alive to the people who say to me, and I sort of try not to be offended, I don't really want to read 50 pages. I only want to read maybe one page to give me a sense of, you know, what you found. So, has anyone tried Notebook LLM? Notebook LLM is at the moment, it's free, and I'll come on to this. Are we all being sucked into using these tools that are free at the moment? And then as time goes on, we become so dependent on them, and then we get hit, with the increase in price. And we think, how on earth are we going to do without these? So, really important, do not lean in so heavily to AI that your cognitive ability and your writing ability and these other skills are eroded because you're leaning in too heavily. But you can see here my screen, and you can see in December, I was thinking, what's the perfect mince pie? I wanted to kind of use that in a webinar that I was hosting pre-Christmas. But let's take a look. This is my dashboard, as it were. Here's my sort of LLM. What I've done is and it's so simple to use. You just upload a PDF document, and what it will do is it will actually summarize that for you. But get this, it will do these other things as well. It'll give me an audio overview of the report. It'll produce flashcards. So if I wanted to use it as a quiz, maybe what was in this report, I can do. We can have a quiz, we can have a little mind map, or we can have an infographic. So let me just ever so quickly give you just a little example here. Now, I'm also going to say I'm a straight talker here. Remember, when you're using these tools, it's only code. It's not real people. And you'll find that this is where this sort of sense of where it can pull us in sometimes, where I use Claude Pro sometimes, and it starts the morning and says, "Good morning, Dr. D." And depending on my mood, I say, "Good morning, Claude." And then I sometimes think, I just need an answer. It's just coding. So remember that, folks. It's just coding. I'll tell you another time about a researcher who has got an AI boyfriend for research purposes only. But that's a completely different thing. So let's just have a little quick look. Let's see if we can get to talk to us.
If you're younger, what do you want to be?
It implies there's one single correct answer, and if you haven't found it, you're, somehow failing.
Exactly. It treats your career like this treasure hunt where X marks the spot, and once you dig it up, that's it, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
But today, we are looking at a stack of research that says that whole mindset is completely broken.
I think so.
We're diving deep into the County Durham All-Age Careers Framework. Now, I know that title...
Now, I'm very conscious of time. So I just want to leave you with something very, very practical. And when that wonderful policy advisor said to me, "Deirdre, just put it on one page." Well, in a few minutes, Notebook LLM have actually produced this wonderful infographic that says what the challenge is, what the barriers are, what the solution is. And is that more engaging than maybe, my lovely report that I had blood, sweat, and tears putting together for a year? Well, maybe in today's society, that's what more people want. So I'm very conscious of time, but I promised David that what I would do is I would give you some sort of practical examples. So let's go back again um, uh, and again. Anybody using LLM, I'd be really interested to hear what your experience has been. So I want to then share another resource with you today, because today is very much about just sharing resources and learning together. Last year, I was asked with my colleague Dr. Chris Percy to look at Careers 2035 and what does AI mean for the future of career guidance. And I would encourage you just to visit our website, and the full report is there. But from that, there's a whole range of learning materials that are free that you can use in your practice. But from that piece of research, we developed 5 scenarios in terms of what the future might look like for career development and AI. And here's 2 extreme examples. One, meet Rosa and Alfie. Again, this is a separate session. If ever you want to go through the different scenarios, get in touch. But here is Rosa, who actually doesn't have the privilege that Alfie has around being able to pay for, if you like, the higher level AI, the added value, the extras. And when it comes to Rosie's job search, having spent 4 years at university, compared to Alfie, actually, Rosa is at an extreme disadvantage. And so be careful when you're thinking about using AI. Have a look at these different scenarios and think about, will we have a more divided society, the haves and the have-nots, the clever people who can pay for AI, and then the others who get left behind. And for career development professionals, we must ensure that when we use AI, we're using it to leverage good. Very quickly, there's research. We've been working with BBC Bite Size Careers here in the UK, and they asked us to look at what's happening with young people and are they using AI for sort of careers exploration. And here you can just see that in 2023, there were about 24% of young people 7 to 17 online. Now look at age 8 to 15. And you can see really from this that what we're seeing is that at least as of in 2024, careers advisors in higher education are far less visible in their usage of careers support than the students. So the message is students are using AI more than the advisors. And again, this gives you some indication of that. So actually, we have no choice but to actually begin to have a look at this. Now, recently, I went into a store here in the northeast of England, and for £299, I don't know how many Australian dollars that would be, but I can buy Meta glasses. And am I wearing Meta glasses today as I speak to you? No, I'm not, but I could be. And I think this is, again, the next phase that we're seeing, is we're really seeing, in many cases, a pushback for some of this generative artificial intelligence. And some argue we're going to see, if you like, more negative impacts growing stronger. For example, there's a video that you can watch where a woman basically accuses a man of actually taking photographs of her on the train, because the technology can allow us to just click here and we can take a photograph. But most important, and this is a key learning lesson for you, I love Microsoft Copilot. I love these tools, but be aware of what could happen when you use Microsoft Copilot. Here, a police chief retires over a football match controversy where he had to give evidence to Parliament, the House of Commons here in London. And he gave evidence, and actually it was to be held account to our government as to why he banned, I think it was Maccabi Tel Aviv, from a West Ham football match. Guess what happened? He drew so heavily on the Microsoft Copilot, that it made something up, and he went to Parliament and he told them, and actually he's now been held accountable. So my message to you is, do not draw so heavily on AI that you actually begin to believe everything it tells you. It hallucinates. Even if you put guardrails around it, you cannot guarantee that it will not hallucinate. I wanted to mention about privacy and bias in these models because we must not overlook this. And another great person to follow is Victoria Headland. I'm hoping that she'll be joining me shortly in an online discussion about gender and AI bias. But here's a few people that you can follow who actually do say some quite sensible things about we have to embrace AI, but we also have to keep up to date with some of the negative aspects of it. So my message to you is stay curious, collaborate with others, cooperate and communicate as much as you can. Now, I want to just basically say, how would you know whether an AI tool that you're using for career development to support your clients is a good tool or not? Well, actually, we haven't got much robust evidence. So recently here in the UK, the Nuffield Foundation have funded a 2-year project, which I'm delighted to be part of, where we're actually going to be looking at trialing an assessment protocol for large language models powered careers advice. So we will be doing a randomized control trial. We'll be looking at a number of tools, and our colleagues in Warwick IER will be including CC, the careers chatbot, which myself and Chris Percy have developed, but we will be nowhere near actually the research around assessing the efficacy of that tool. But in its essence, wherever you are, have a think about, is the scope for research? In essence, this is a little bit like the humans versus the large language models. And it'll be very interesting to see what the results will be. So stay with me on that. Canada very quickly had the pleasure of working with Serena Hopkins and colleagues, along with Toronto Metropolitan University. So very quickly, we've surveyed colleagues in Canada. The Canadian Career Development Foundation are looking at code of ethics, competency framework, national certification. Again, in a way, mirroring some of the great work of Mary McMahon and David and colleagues at SECA. But we did a literature review, which will come out hopefully in the summer. And you'll see here the technology is evolving very quickly. There's 10 key points here: dramatic increase in AI research, empirical weakness, growing usage, AI usage amongst practitioners, but limited to sort of integration into practice. There's a kind of readiness gap there, various predictions about the impact of work. Humans in the loop is what I want to leave you with today, that we must have humans in the loop. We need ethical guidelines. The IAEVG has produced a new set of ethical guidelines that have got AI embedded in there. And we must think about these disparities in access. So we surveyed 370 practitioners across Canada, and you can see here the results of that. Career professionals are neither technophobic or uncritically techno-optimistic. So policymaker, if you're in this webinar, don't put us in a box, please. We're not technophobic and we're not overly optimistic. Career recognition of the benefits of these serious ethical concerns is something that we all need to appreciate. There's an urgent need for guidelines and training, support, and a call for stronger guardrails to govern that. So we're on a journey. I really just want to invite you to think of, maybe draw a triangle on a piece of paper and have a little think about, if you were using AI in your practice, what level of complexity are you looking for? Are you looking maybe to have something where people can just type in and go, and maybe a chatbot where, you use a tool to complement other resources? Maybe you're also using it to transcribe, if you like, your AI and your interview. You're using AI to transcribe. Lots of ethical issues there. Maybe you're looking to sort of use a tool for a sort of exercise, like maybe think about your future pen pal exercise using AI to what might, my future pen pal, what might they say to me? Generating maybe first draft action plans. Careers advisors in the UK, the least favoured task they have is writing action plans. Here at Career Chat UK, we've been looking at Career App, which is a tool to help advisors with action plans. Or maybe on that triangle, do you want to do something that's sort of a higher level, that it requires maybe weaving in the AI into sort of your client database? There's whole sorts of things. And we need to just think about the level of complexity. This is what's next on the journey that we're with the Canadians, and we'll be publishing something in May later this year. The agency is not just what AI is used, but why it's used and how it's enhancing the delivery. I have to come to an end. I'm very conscious of that. So I wanted to just say to you that I have been working on chatbot technology because I believe that we need to be at the forefront of this. And what makes the work that I do with Career Chat, we're a very small team. We've been designing a careers chatbot for the BBC Bite Size Careers, a prototype across the UK. We've developed CC, the careers chatbot, where we can just type in some questions and get really good answers. But that's because the humans are working alongside the AI. It's about using large language model capabilities, but not being driven just by the large language models. Having, if you like, a curated, working with careers professionals who are actually co-designing the chatbot technology, integrating the very latest labour market information so that we can be confident about how people are using technology. And if you haven't visited the OECD Odyssey site, there's a whole range of different tools being used there. You can, if you want to grab this web link here, you can go in and have a play of Ask Arden, the careers chatbot in higher education. For 3 years, we've been working with Arden University on their chatbot designed to do some of that heavy lifting so that their team of advisors can actually do the guidance and work. You can visit our website. You can book and have a demo of CC if you just want to have a look and see what it actually looks like. Most importantly, in the UK, safeguarding is our major concern, using AI safely. And in CC, we've had a grant for innovation where we've now embedded a hierarchy of safeguarding into our curated chatbot. So if someone reports that they want to feel suicidal, it will trigger immediately a red alert for us to actually inform the organisations that we're working with. But what makes it really interesting is that we can actually see, as career development professionals, anonymise trends. What are people looking for? So I really would want to encourage you to think about what your big takeaways might be from today. I'm conscious we've got a couple of minutes over, David. Should we do just maybe one of the polls, David? Or do you think we've got time to do 2 quick polls as a takeaway?
I think we've probably run out of time, Deirdre. There are a lot of people that have actually headed off
Okay,
already. So we might just
lovely.
leave those 2 polls if that's okay.
That's fine. If anyone wants to contact me, you can. I want to finish just by saying it's in collectivities that we find reservoirs of hope and optimism, says Angela Davis. So I hope that as a collective and through Seeka and the great work that Seeka's doing, you'll join this AI community of practice. Don't be afraid. Just be very, very aware of we have to be curious, we have to play, but we often also have to co-design and be at the forefront so we're not accused of Luddites and other people who know nothing about career development come in with new tools. I call them snake oil salesmen or women. Thank you so much, everyone. Your work is important. It changes lives. I genuinely mean that. And if there's anything that I can support you with going forward, you've got my contact details. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Deirdre, very much. A great way to kick off our February series. I know that I'll send you a copy of the chat. A lot of people are putting comments into the chat, so I'll give you a copy. I just want to acknowledge too, there was some comment in the chat, and this session wasn't meant for this, but there is an increasing, I think, discussion around the environmental impact of AI and how we ethically deal with that as well. As I said, I don't think that's for this session, but I do want to acknowledge that that did come up in the chat, and I think that's something that we do need to think about, how we ethically use this technology, because we do know that it does generate a lot of carbon, those data centers that are running. So we obviously need to keep an eye on that thing as well. And we are running a session at the end of this series on, green careers for career practitioners. So that may come up in that. But anyway, that's a side issue. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending. A lot of people have been asking about the slides. We don't share the slides separately, but once the recording comes out at the end of the series, you'll obviously have Deirdre's slides as part of that recording, and you can review them as we go through, and the links to the different websites that Deirdre has provided, you'll be able to access. So from wherever you joined us today, and as I said, and as Deirdre said, we had a phenomenal number registered for this session, over 890 people in the end registered. So there clearly is an appetite for learning more. I think we're all at different journeys, different stages of the journey. So Deirdre, thank you for sharing your experience. I know you're definitely leading the charge from a career practitioner point of view in technology in the UK, and not only in the UK, but through the work that you do globally as well. So it's been great to have you back as part of our series, and thank you for getting up early to do it for us.
Well, thank you so much for the invite, and thanks to everyone who made the time to join us.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening or day or wherever you've joined us from. And as I said, 3 more sessions to go, all free. Feel free to go to the Seeker website and register if you haven't already done so. If you have, we'll see you next Wednesday for the next session. Thanks, Deirdre.
Thanks a lot, David. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.